Live, Reverend Julie. Hello. Yes, we are. Hi.
Good morning, good afternoon, good night, wherever anybody is. Hello.
Wherever in the world. But I love that at Agape we say always good morning, because the dawn of consciousness and the eternality of beingness is always rising, right?
Yes.
Or tell me why we say good morning.
I love that. Sure.
Okay. Well, I am so grateful to be here with you, just to connect with you. It doesn't really matter. Time and space don't matter, because I can feel the joy and buoyancy of your energy just through our Zoom call.
Yes, thank you. And I'm totally like in a fantasy right now, because I'm pretending that we are at Rhythmia Life Advancement Center in Costa Rica right now. I'm kind of poolside. The food is out. It's so good. So I'm just like, that's where I am, just so you know.
Beautiful. I'm with you, and getting ready to go back down there, as a matter of fact.
Wow, beautiful.
And it looks like people are starting to. I'm just looking here. I have my phone on the side so I can watch.
Fun.
Coming in and chiming in. So as people are starting to join in, welcome everybody. We're so grateful that you're here, and I want to take a moment to introduce you to our phenomenal guest today on Rise Up, Reverend Julie Moret, author of What's Your What? How to Ignite Your Unique Brand. And she is an accomplished inspirational speaker and teacher, and I can personally attest to that. She holds degrees in a wide range of healing modalities, including psychology, neuro-linguistic programming, clinical hypnosis, hands-on energy healing, and shamanism. Julie's work has been featured on the Lifetime television channel, and she's proud to be an ordained trans-denominational, that means inclusive of all religions, Agape International Spiritual Center minister, speaker, and member of the leadership board and G5 team. And G5 is like a steering committee of the most.
We oversee all 70 something ministries at Agape. So it's super fun, and it's an honor for sure.
Indeed. And you are an asset to that group. She was also knighted by the Order of Orthodox Knights of St. John's, Russian Grand Priory, alongside with Jack Canfield, Don Miguel Ruiz, Michael Bernard Beckwith, and Lisa Nichols. And she also serves on the Spiritual Advisory Board for the College of Sacred Surgeons in Princeton, New Jersey. She has a TED Talk, which is phenomenal, How to Clarify Your Uniqueness and Live a Life That Matters. And it's currently available online. So we are on the line with an amazing, brilliant individual, if you haven't figured that out by now.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Welcome. Thank you. And thanks for coming back, because I know we had some challenges. Everything is unfolding in divine perfection. And so here
Yes.
Thank you. So today has been a busy day, and you were able to, we had a quick prayer beforehand, to utilize the technology of prayer to center yourself in a second.
Yes.
Share a little bit about your relationship to affirmative prayer and how it works in your life.
Yes. So for me, prayer is an activation point. When we just connected just a couple of minutes ago, and I was like harried and all over the place. It's been a really busy day so far. And I was feeling frazzled, like, how can I do an interview right now? I'm blah. And then we started doing a prayer, and I was like, so for me, prayer is a moment that I remember who I am, whose I am. I get clear and rejuvenated and inspired. And can we do a prayer with everybody? Can I just do prayer?
Wonderful.
Okay, because it's easier just to do it than talk about it. So wherever you are, this is not a religious prayer. So whatever your religious background is, whatever your spiritual preferences are, like whatever, it's all inclusive. And so we begin it with gratitude, because gratitude is a great activator. The more that we are grateful for, the more we are given to be grateful for. And so it starts by not denying what we don't have, but by acknowledging what we do have, which sends a message. I mean, it's very scientific. It actually sends a message to our subconscious mind that this is the direction I want to go in, because we receive what we focus on, right? I just thought of a story about, we're going to do prayer first. I'll have to tell you real quick. I was at a hotel one time and there was somebody I couldn't stand and I didn't want to see her. And but I was fixated on it like the whole time. Like, I don't want to see her. So last day, I'm at one of the top floors. I'm getting ready to take an elevator down. And I'm gonna just like take my elevator down. I'm getting out of there and I'm not seeing her, right? So, but I'd been really aware that I didn't want to see her. So I get in the elevator, I get to the bottom of the elevator, and she's just like this. She was waiting for the elevator.
Of course.
They're like, I don't know how many thousands of people are in that hotel and how many different elevator banks there are, but I was focused on it. So the point is, when we pray focusing on what we do want as opposed to what we do not want. And it becomes an activator and a manifester. So we begin with gratitude, and I'll just do that right now. So I invite you to take a breath. Whatever is happening in your life, breathing in through the nose if that's comfortable. Releasing and letting go on the exhale, just dumping out anything that's bugging you, anything that's annoying you, anything that's concerning you, just letting it all go on the exhalation. And then very easily, very gently, I invite you to become aware of whatever it is you're grateful for. I'm so grateful in this moment that we chose to come together to rise up in our consciousness. I'm so grateful that we chose to come together to have an evolutionary conversation, to be about the difference, to be a beneficial presence on the planet, to get clear about what is ours to do. I'm so grateful that we join together with like-minded individuals for the purpose of growth and development and activation and clarity and nurturance and healing. So I'm so grateful for this opportunity. I'm so grateful to remember that there is a divine power, presence, source, life, vitalizing life force energy, and it's everywhere. It's what lights the stars. It's what, lets the sun rise and the sun set and waterfalls gush and all this miracle, a child's belly laugh, whatever that divine intelligence is that creates this back of all of it. I know that source is my source. And as that's true for me, I know it's true for John Jacob. I know it's true for every single person tuning in. I know it's true for the Rhythmia Life Advancement Center, for the Agape International Spiritual Center. I know that every person in the world is backed by this omnipresent, always present, omnipowerful, all-knowing, omniscient source. And so I can easily bless our time gathered together, knowing that it is a time of God meeting God, of source meeting source. It is a time for love and joy and harmony and balance and prosperity and remembering who we really are, whose we really are. I declare this time together sacred. It's a sanctuary. It's a sanctuary in consciousness. We get to huddle together and be so keenly aware that love is at hand still, now, always. How good it is to lean into this, to allow it to have full sway in our lives. I'm knowing that right where every single person is that tunes in, love gets to have the final word. Love gets to have full sway. Love gets to order our steps. Love is what is back of divine right employment, divine right housing, divine right relationship, absolute wholeness, health, vitality. Love is at hand. Love guides the way. I allow it to be. I declare that it is so. And I say, and so it is.
And so it is.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. Ashe.
So what's so important, and then I'll shut up. What's so important about this is that when you decide to say a prayer, say it with your guts, with your heart, with everything you've got, because the more emotionally invested you are, the more activating it is, and the more it helps to bring into manifested form that which we desire. And that's science-backed. Thought plus emotion is creative. Now I'll let you ask some questions, John Jacob.
All these, I have this whole list of questions. Let's continue here. So what came up for me as you were blessing us with this beautiful intentionality was, first of all, just as you said, the more you feel it, right? And I always think the universe doesn't hear us, the universe feels us.
Right.
It's this vibrational connection. We see it in science saying everything is vibration and frequency. At the center of our being, we're cells, and then the cells are atoms, and what's at the center of an atom? Nothing.
Down to our tiniest neurons, science now understands that we are comprised largely of vibration and wave.
Yes.
Vibration and wave.
And that, exactly as you were saying, as we embody that feeling, as Reverend Michael says, the feeling tone of that prayer, of our gratitude, of our and that we, as Ernest Holmes says, enlarge our experience with our imagination. That feeling of enlarging that experience. So you brought us into an enlarged experience.
Yes.
Pointing, turning away from more myopic thinking and bringing us to turning towards, like the flower turns towards the sun in such a beautiful way.
Right. Stepping out of time, which is the current events we're all dealing with, news, media, la, 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 and going into the timeless, which is a heightened vibratory frequency that is creative by nature. So this is where the solutions are. So going to a moment of prayer helps us get to the place that we can get at the answers and the guidance that we really want to change.
And so
I feel like I'm a really bad interview guest because I keep butting in.
No, oh my God,
I have like bad etiquette.
Not at all. I'm so grateful you're here. And you're bringing up such great points for our conversation. So we'll get to the questions later, but here we are. One of the things that I've personally been really working through and trying to work through with my clients, as well as on our platform at Rhythmia, is just what you said. We can move into the timeless. We can move into that idea. In the spiritual realm, we know that everything is unfolding for its highest good spiritually. And then we have the mental world and the emotional world where, politics and culture and all this stuff exist, right? So please share with us some of your wisdom and how you navigate. Okay, I can reach into the timeless and see everything's unfolding for its highest good. And yet here we are in a conversation with someone who has an opposing political view. Here we are in a conversation about race or gender or the Supreme Court nomination. There's something very visceral and conversations that bring up conflict. How do you navigate and bring that timeless into the conversations, the minutia of daily life? Does that make sense?
Kinda. I'm going to be like, a politician and just like answer whatever the heck I want to answer since I'm not 100% sure. So we'll see where we go here. Because I was just in one of these conversations yesterday. Actually, I was with a group of people and really close friends, but with very different political bents. And it was interesting to hear somebody that I'm so close to speak like what I call crazy, like such opposite to me. And I really listen. Like, I am not evangelical. I'm not trying to sway anybody. My hope is that by being the best version of myself, something becomes inspired, like people see that and then get interested. I'm not looking to really change anybody. So I make sure I listen. And I think what I keep doing is turning to what's mine to do, like what is mine to do. Everybody has something. And the more curious I get about what my piece is, I think there's a realm where I understand things on the timeless. I understand, like, I'm not sweating it for humanity because we're either going to get the lessons like this lifetime or next, or we'll just all like crumble and turn to ash and then something else will come about. Like on a big evolutionary level, I'm not sweating it. Like something needs to unfold. In the here and now moment, I do these segments called Bridges and Blessings, and I'm speaking with friends that are African American, and I'm hearing stories about people close to me and I'm not allowed to curse here, I guess, the stuff they have to deal with. And it makes, and I feel very outraged. So I want change and I want it now and I want to be part of it. And so I think what helps me is it's very important for me to keep doing my spiritual work. So I keep getting guidance. I keep every day doing my spiritual practice. So I get clear about what is mine to do. I stay true to it, whoever I'm in conversation with. And I notice that the more embodied I am of my truth, the less it doesn't give a tug of war to anybody. Like, if I am really clean and clear about what I believe, and I'm owning it, there's nothing for somebody to attack. So I find that to be very helpful. It's when I think I need to like change somebody else that things get wonky. So I think the more clean and clear I am and certain, um, and then I keep listening and doing the next step and the next step and the next step. And what I find is when I do my next step, people who even have different beliefs than I have, um, they'll come around and they'll be like, oh, I never thought of it that way. Or, oh, like I just spoke recently at Agape, and there were a lot of people that kind of woke up and heard things in a new way. And that was a beautiful response to being authentic.
Indeed. And I want to talk to you about your recent talk at Agape. And it just was so great to hear your way of moving through these conversations. Because there was a time when I kind of, like you said, there's crazy talk. I would just dismiss out of hand, like as if somebody said the world is flat, and you'd be like, I don't even know I'm not even going to honor that, right? With it being interested or inquiry as to where you came up with that. I'm just dismissing you out of hand. And I found that was really perpetuating my own funnel of like-minded individuals. And I have these conversations with people, and it just led me this way, kind of like our social media funnels, right? And so I've stopped dismissing points of view that seem to me personally to be crazy,
right?
And taking the time to be present, as you said, to listen and notice when I have the desire to cajole or persuade, and even the real subtle desire, because I notice sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm just being curious, but at the end of the conversation, really underneath, if you just said, you're right, I totally see it your way, I would feel much better. So I have to be really aware of that. Okay, so your talk at Agape was amazing. And one of the things that I thought was so brave of you to do is when you spoke specifically about how you as an individual perpetuate this systemic aspect of privilege. Even though we know that you're not out there perpetuating that verbally or with your intentionality or with your actions, right? So I think this is a really powerful realization. Would you explain a little bit more about how one can perpetuate even without intention, just by our being white or...
Right. So I think one of the things that I've learned through this time where there's so much awareness around Black Lives Matter and what it has meant to be Black in the United States of America specifically. And I think that one of the things that I've just become aware of is that we're all participants in racism, and it's something that's so ingrained that many of us who would say like, no, I'm not racist, we can't help but be, because it's part of the underbelly of the way our country was built. And there's a book I'm reading, and I didn't want to read it, but Caste. This is like on Oprah's, book club, and it talks about the caste system in the United States of America. And I got to tell you, if you want any information, it's hard to not be woken up by reading just the laws, the way that laws were constructed, and the way that, because if like I could be kind to Black people, I could, be charitable or whatever to different organizations. But if a structure of a system, if a structure of law enforcement, if a structure of government is already bent towards a caste system, then progress can't happen. So there really has to be, an acknowledgement of that. Reverend Michael Bernard Beckwith spoke on Sunday at the Agape International Spiritual Center, and he said, it's not about fixing the system. Like it's not that the system isn't working. It's working beautifully.
Right.
It's working exactly as it was devised to work. So, I think that we had a chance a few years back, like we could have politely taken a knee and maybe things would have been sweet for a little while longer, but we didn't. And so it's like the whole underbelly is coming up anytime there is disease, toxicity. It has to find its way to the surface. And so, maybe there'll be a change in leadership in a couple of weeks, and maybe we'll start moving in that direction. And if there's not, it means more of the guts of our underbelly are going to come up over the next 4 years. And so it's really what we choose to face. It's like in a family dynamic in psychology, if one person is sick, they're just the symptom
Mm-hmm.
of a disease that includes everybody. And so I think that's really what I was speaking to in my talk. And if anybody, it's on agapelive.com in the archives from like 3 weeks ago, I think. And it's it's useful to reflect and just see, like, where am I in this situation, and what is mine to do now? Because we can't all do everything, but I think every single one of us got a beautiful assignment coming into this life. And it might be baking cupcakes, and it might be helping to write new laws, and it might be being an entrepreneur, or whatever it is, but we all got an assignment. And I think that's what excites me. I feel like my work is about helping people get activated, remember and get activated about what's their piece to do. Because if we all do our piece,
Right.
things will move forward well.
Absolutely. There was a study done, I believe, at Emory University. It was very interesting. Just speaking to the caste system and speaking to ingrained systems of thought and ways of being. So they did this. They did this study with rats, and they took cheese and scented it with a cherry blossom. And every time the rat went to get that cherry blossom scented cheese, there was an electric shock. And so they did this with a generation of rats. And for 7 generations after, the rats would not go to the and they even kept the generation separate in case there was like a little rat school, like, okay, hey, by the way, don't go to that cheese, right? So there was they kept the generation separate. And it wasn't until the 8th generation that these ingrained behavioral patterns started to break.
Yeah.
So we can see that we are, Pericles says we're who I am, I owe to those who came before, and what I become, I owe to myself. So we have this sort of generational background that we bring with us, and we have the opportunity now to make a choice and become aware, as you said, of those ingrained patterns.
One of the things that I'm learning about, it's a phrase that I got really interested in. And it's the fact that we carry with us a reservoir of emotions. We have a reservoir of emotions. I have a reservoir of emotions inside of me that are based on beliefs and decisions that I made as a child about what life is, what men are, what women are, what's possible for me, what's not. We have an ancestral reservoir of emotions within us. So part of this underbelly that's coming up is, it's like, we got to do whatever it takes to become emotionally well ventilated. We have to have a time of acknowledging what am I carrying forward with me from my lineage, from my gender, what beliefs about being a woman, what beliefs about being white, what beliefs and attitudes and behaviors. And we have this reservoir of emotion. And for a healthy society, we must be emotionally well ventilated.
Okay, so that's such a great statement. And one of my questions was, I get to answer it because it follows right perfectly. What is the best way to become aware of our conditioned beliefs, emotions, thoughts, and experiences? And how can we become more aligned to that, who we really are?
Yeah, I think it's about it's taking time in our spiritual practice to really consider, like, what am I feeling? And I like to start it, for those listening, we can just do a little taste right now.
Okay.
As you breathing in through your nose, exhaling out through your mouth. And then just do a body check. Notice how your body is feeling today. So just begin physically. How's my body doing? Are there any places that feel kind of stuck or tight? Any tension? You could do some shoulder rolls, or kind of breathe into any areas where there may be anything going on, just allowing a little bit of love or energy moving into those areas. And then noticing, what am I feeling? Like what feelings do you have right now? And so this is a process that we get to do throughout our day. And what I'll tell you is, as when we go through challenging times, there are four main ways that people manage stressful situations: fight, flight, freeze, or appease. Fight, flight, freeze, or appease. So I'm really good at freezing. When things get like too much, I go numb. So if I were to do a body check with you right now, I'd be like, all good, feel nothing, nothing going on. And so that's why when I shared my story in my talk about watching Sterling K. Brown's video on Instagram, his response to Ahmaud Arbery's murder, it was compelling enough that it broke through the ice, the numbness that I keep around me as a protection. And I felt something. And so I literally stayed in my office for hours, breathing and feeling everything. So this is kind of the invitation is, if you find yourself flying off into fight, if something happens and you're like, and you go into fight or fright or freeze or appease, like I'm really good at that. Like, I'll just make you feel so good and we'll be happy and we'll never deal with anything ever. You're good at that too, aren't you?
I just
you're a great appeaser. We would be so much fun together. We would just appease the But the thing is, to be healthy and to have our society evolve as it must right now, we're in an evolutionary conversation. It means that we breathe through, not past, but through whatever our primary defense systems are. And we feel what's under there. And then we become emotionally well ventilated and we start to see like what's really going on. And that helps us because, as I was sharing in my talk, anytime there's stuck energy, it creates blockages. So if I'm in freeze mode, if I'm off like with this big like smoke screen of anger, everything, then I'm blocking my life force. And I said, I want to be in the world right now. I have no ability to access my part in that if I'm doing any of these major defense systems. So I have to breathe, feel my stuff. It will flow on. Feelings flow. They can't be fixed, but they must be felt in order to flow on. When they flow on, now I'm like pumped up. So now I can feel what is mine to do to help our screwed up looking world right itself, clean itself up, evolve, like from roots up, evolve.
Yes.
And I felt myself, like, if you just heard that, I started getting really excited. Like I wanted to run out of here and go do something because I felt myself again,
Yes.
So we have to do what it takes to cause ourselves to feel what's really going on, which means going through, not around or past, whatever our primary defense systems are.
And I love the process that you took us through because it's a way that we can all, in the moments of our day, sometimes that very process, there have been times in my life where I've been really walking through the mud, where I would set alarms multiple times a day just to stop and do that process. Just scan my body. How am I feeling? Like just get present and in the body because I was on the hamster wheel of all this thought.
Yeah.
Another tool.
Feel what's happening in your physical body and then see what's happening in the emotional. I'm not really able to go to breathe to feeling emotions that well. So I start with physical body because it's like it anchors me here and then I go. Yes. Now you may speak and I will shut up again. I get excited. I find this stuff really
more. No, you go. Let's just appease each other some more.
No, you.
So another tool, I'd love to talk to you about your experience at Rhythmia with ayahuasca, because we have seen that as an ancient healing plant medicine that contains that high vibration of Mother Nature, of nature itself. It's like a concentrated drop of nature, right? That we're ingesting, that helps us up level our vibrational frequency. And so I know that you came to Rhythmia.
Yes.
So I'd love to hear about your experience and perhaps relating your medicine experience with that emotional ventilation.
Yeah. Okay. We'll see what I come up with here. Um, so I came to Costa Rica with Michael Bernard Beckwith and a group of ministers that from the Agape International Spiritual Center. And we were there having meetings and convening, and it was a gorgeous facility and so cleansing and healthy. And we went and took a boat ride and saw alligators everywhere. And we went to the beach and had these beautiful experiences. And then I really wanted to experience ayahuasca. I wanted to see what it was all about. I had never done anything like that before. I missed out on like doing drugs as a child. It just didn't happen. So I was interested and I participated 4 nights. I did like, I think all 4 nights. And what I found was really interesting. I had like interesting experiences. I'm editing right now. Um, um, I found in one of the ceremonies, I felt like, nothing's happening. I don't feel like it's not working. So I went up and I spoke with a shaman. I actually did this 2 nights in a row. And the shaman that was on hand, he said the simplest things to me. And it was like, it was life changing. Jerry says, when you come here, you're going to get your miracle. And so each day he was like, did you get your miracle yet? Have you gotten your miracle? And that first ceremony, he said something and I got my miracle. And it's so personal. I don't think that I want to share it out loud. That's what I was hesitating about, but it's so beautiful. I want to, but I'm not going to, but I want to. And it was like it was just in the way that he guided me. He said like the simplest prompt and he helped me. I think I really, because I hadn't done anything like that before, I think I was pretty defended and was kind of blocking the plant medicine from working. And so my access in was by having this conversation with the shaman, and it just unfolded so beautifully from there. And I remember it was a turning point for me in my life. I remember coming back from Rhythmia and it was like, there's no going back, like I know who I am. I know what I'm supposed to do in this world. I like, my comfort zone is kind of being under the radar. And there was something that happened working with the plant medicine that it's like, once you know something, you can't turn back from it. So it was really like an introduction to me of who I'm meant to be in the world. And I've been stepping into it ever since, like very diligently. And my life has changed quantumly in the few years since then. I mean, it's like my trajectory of growth is like vertical, and so much has changed about me. So I'm interested and eager to take it further. I really am.
I we say that the ceremony is just 50% of the work, and that it is the returning, the integration, the embodiment, literally embodying what you received. And so I know you, and I know your devotion to your practice
Yeah.
completely. So I know that your practice of meditation and prayer and fellowship and service and growth and study and all of that that's required has amplified that experience. And so many people, it can have an amazing experience with ayahuasca, um, and I think you're a testament to the value of those continued spiritual practices. And you have a whole range of modalities that you work with, not only psychology, but also you've trained as a shaman. You have shamanic training. So I'd love to talk to you a little bit more about shamanism versus a curadera versus a plant doctor, and share with us about your shamanic training. I'm so interested to know.
So one of the people that I work with is Alberto Vioto. He wrote One Spirit Medicine and Shaman Healer Sage. He has many books out. He's a prolific author and a beautiful shaman. And um, that was really a beginning point. I was actually I went to Peru a year ago, and I climbed Mount Asangate with a group of shaman, and it was another just pivotal, transformationally deepening moment in my life. And I was supposed to go back again this past just a few months ago, and I was going to be in the Amazon, and I was going to be doing ayahuasca with a shaman there. And so I was really sorry that everything came about, and all the travel was canceled. But I think that the work that I'm doing primarily with these Peruvian shaman is it really touches like the deep mysticism that I find very resonant with who I am. Like I said, my experience with the ayahuasca ceremony, I've like honed in on the shaman. You know, like there's something about the ancestral wisdom and that lineage that is very familiar to me. And so I love being really close to the earth. I love being um, like a participant. Like one of the things that I learned as I was studying shamanism is that everything is alive. Everything is alive.
Mm.
And so when I go to my altar in the mornings before I do spiritual ceremony, um, my altar used to be a place that I had like pretty things. And so I would go and I would look at my pretty things. But after studying the shamanism that I have, I understand that everything's alive. So when I go to my altar, I have a communion with it. I notice like, what does it need? What is it wanting? Is it time for something to go? Is it time for something new to happen? I might spritz it with, essential oil or water, or, like I'm having a complete relationship with all the things on my altar. I'm having a relationship with everything in my life. And that gets so compelling and so exciting and so juicy. And it's like being a part, I'm a participant in life. And with everything around me, from the plant people and the stone people and the four-legged and the two-legged and the creepy crawlers and the finned and the furred and the winged ones, like all of life. And uh, and it starts to respond, like things that people would call synchronicities, or like, wow, that's so weird that happened. It just becomes life. It's like being in communication with everything. That's very exciting to me and very compelling, and it makes um, everything I do worthwhile. Is that relationship.
I just love what you shared about your spiritual ceremony in the morning at your altar. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
there's a, so if that inspires you, I'm going to speak to everybody that's listening. If that inspires you to create an altar, we have a beautiful video at Rhythmia call on our YouTube channel and on our website, on the Facebook video page, on how to create a directional healing altar based on the 4 directions. And it's a wonderful way to do exactly what Reverend Julie is talking about. And this communion, this recognition that you're speaking of, that everything is alive and that you have this relationship to it that brings the altar, it brings it alive because you're participating with it.
Yes.
So beautiful, so beautiful. And those places then become a touchstone because the more energy that you're investing in it, right, the more vibration, the more power it has that we're imbuing it with,
Mm-hmm.
right, that we're co-creating with, so that that the altar then, as I walk by it, my altar becomes a touchstone that it's like a place where I go to remember again, like it's like
Right.
another activation point.
And I want to share that even as we're speaking right now, I feel like my back straightening, I feel like more powerful as I remember this. And so I'm less swayed by the things happening in the world. When I have these kinds of experiences in my life, when I have this altar area or these practices that I do, then they'll say what they say on the news or in media or in politics or whatever, but I feel so intimately connected with the source of all life that is eternal, that it's kind of like it's just it's a very empowering feeling, it's a very freeing feeling, and I feel way more capable of being impactful and effective and much less like a leaf tossed in the wind, which I think is how I probably would have described myself for a lot of my life. Like, whoa, what's going on out in the world? Or, if I go into a meeting or I'm around people, it's like, well, however they're feeling is how I will respond. But when I have these moments of clarity and remembrance, I feel so empowered that's what leads. And that's why, when you were asking earlier, like what happens when you have conversations with people that think a different thing, when I'm so clear and so aligned with truth,
Mm-hmm.
like, and not the truth that I believe in, but like truth, that overarching truth that includes everybody. I don't know. I just feel more confident in life itself.
Do you feel that that's part of feeling more connected with life?
Yes, but it's not connected with like the things of this world. It's connected with the eternal nature of life, right?
Yes.
So I can't be moved no matter what happens in the world with the stuff and the events going on. Like I'm connected to the source of all of that. I still want to bring this might be getting like way too high-minded for listeners if this is annoying. I'm not talking about like kind of spiritually bypassing anything. I'm just saying what works for me is to remember my connection with that which is eternal. And when I feel that connected, I feel um, I feel more free and more powerful. And that allows me to be more effective in my day-to-day actions. And I feel like people respond um, easier with me, easier to what I have to say.
So I really love this, and I'd love to dig in a little bit further, because there's this idea that, like you said, there's something true, right? Truth, unchanging, eternal, always the same, no need for anything to add or be taken away. Truth, the eternal. And yet there's an appropriate response in time,
Mm.
right? There's righteous indignation. There's all sorts of ways that we can appropriately respond to something that isn't resonant with us in the physical, mental, or emotional worlds.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, we're anchoring in. We're using these tools and practices to anchor us, and then we go out in the world, and there's something that this kind of speaks to what's mine to do.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I guess I'd like a little bit more of your insight. Yes.
You called on me. I'm so excited.
Oh, Julie.
So here's the piece that I think is really key. When I talk about like anchored in the eternal, what I think is helpful is when I'm interacting with people in real time here and now, what I get to check is, am I responding from fear or vision? Am I responding from fear or vision? And when I have done my spiritual work, and when I've taken that time and I like, I connect in with my crystals and I connect in with whatever's going on over there, um, I'm in vision mode. And so there isn't anything to pull against. If I come to you and I'm in fear, I'm going to be kind of hysterical about making sure that whatever I'm afraid of doesn't happen because
You run into
if
him
I'm what?
in the elevator.
Right. Um, but when I come from this eternal place, there's a sort of calm about it, and there's a sort of trust in life. In life, I have an innate trust in life, and so it doesn't have all that charge that can be pulled against. So I think that's why people can hear it more easily when we're coming from that place of vision as opposed to fear. And so also, we get to look at people when I talk about everybody doing what's theirs to do. And some people are out there and they're really doing stuff and they're taking actions, and it seems very destructive. So I would ask myself, well, are their actions based on fear, or are they based on vision? You can look at our political leaders. You can, what's going on? Is it based on fear, or is it based on vision? Is it based on a fear of not being the top dog? Is it based on a fear of an insecurity being found out? Or is it based on like what's possible for us humanoids, So I think that that's a really key piece to tune into whenever we're having a response to something. what's having the response? What belief that you're having? Is it a belief that you're having? Does it have a base in fear, or is it coming from an awareness of like a vision? Like, are you being guided by a vision?
So let's take it to protest versus rioters. I mean, I think you would say like rioting could be more fear based and protest more vision based, or can we bring it into something specific that's happening today in our
Yeah, let me try that on. So, my first thought is to say protests, because they're good and they're quiet. So that would be vision. But rioting is bad. But, I just understand it differently. Like, if you've been in pain and you're screaming, if you started by knocking politely and you've continued by knocking a little louder, and then you've spoken up and you've spoken up and you've spoken up, just taking the chandelier and just smashing the thing might be necessary sometimes. I'm not talking about looting, and I'm not talking about, organizations coming in to try and hijack a moment um, and serve another cause. I'm just saying I understand anger, and I'm just saying I understand anger.
I so appreciate you saying
I really do. People are going to get mad, and I'm glad I can't see anybody's comments right now, but I just understand anger. And I think, like, if you are somebody, or you come from a group of people that have been trying to do it the right way, have been trying to go by the system and the laws that were created to hold you back anyway, and you've been trying to stay in bounds for 250 years or whatever, like, I just understand outrage, and there has to be a vent. So yeah, I mean, maybe we could put everybody in a bouncy house and they could just get it all out, that way. But since that isn't likely to happen, I understand anger, and I understand the need to get it out. I don't want anybody hurt.
yes.
I just understand it.
Would love to see Nancy Pelosi and Donald Trump in a bouncy house.
We should put them in a bounce house. We should give them like blow up bats. Nancy Pelosi would wail on that. I got to tell you. Can you see her?
We have a few minutes left. Actually, we're gone overtime. Not, but
Okay.
Conversation. I have to tell you this one. I'd love to get your take on this one actual thing that happened this week. I had some, dear friend of mine from college, like 30 plus years, and her son is my nephew. Not by blood, but he calls me Uncle Jay. Mm-hmm. He's 19.
Speak up a little bit. Okay.
He's 19.
Yeah.
He calls me Uncle Jay. He's 19. He's 6'6", black, big kid, right? And he is he's going to school at UC Boulder, and he's in a fraternity, and he's now a sophomore, so he's working with the pledges. So they were visiting, and I'm hanging out with him, and he texts one of his pledges, send me a meme to make me laugh. And the meme comes back, a picture of a John Deere tractor in a cotton field. And it said, Black lives haven't mattered for a long time, or something like, since they invented this machine, basically. And so then he sent that to all the brothers in the fraternity. And then it was clear this guy's a pledge, and we're dropping him. He's not, right? He's not material for our house, right? They have a very diverse house. It's not a black house. It's a very diverse house. And we talked about it. And my simple recollection to him was Martin Luther King Jr. said, if we are successful, the people that we are protesting against will one day be our neighbors. Mm. And so there was this sense of, I'd love to get your take on it, because I said, well, yeah, okay, there's retribution or consequence to is there consequence, or is it retribution that he's alienated, or is this an opportunity to bring someone in to an expanded awareness of what their actions might do? I'd love to hear anything that you have to say about that.
Yeah, well, first of all, it just like aches my heart every time I hear stories like that, and I hear a ton of them. I think I would be more interested in knowing what that does for your cousin or nephew. I think I would be more interested in knowing, like, what's his inclination to respond, because it doesn't matter what mine is. But, he chose to go to Colorado for school. He chose to pledge a fraternity. So he has a role to play. There's something that is compelling him to put himself in a place where he is definitely more of a minority. And I'd be curious, like, what inside of himself is ready to, what wants to happen? Is this a moment for him to speak up? Is this a moment? What's happening inside of him? That's what I would be really curious. I'd love to know how he responded to it, and what he feels compelled to do. Because I think life gives us our next steps. And so he took the steps that put him in that situation. He asked for a meme, for goodness sake. And then look at what came back. So there's something inside of him that's ready to do something. And I don't know what that is. I don't know where that will come out, if it will. I know we're on time, but I mean, there's seed moments that happen in all of our lives, and we never know exactly what they're going to be the seed of. So I would just take a moment and trust to know that right where he is, there's something so compelling that got stirred in him. And I'm going to trust that helps cultivate his consciousness in a way that he becomes a powerful voice, that something activates within him, something moves forward within him that couldn't have if he didn't have this situation. So I'm going to trust and know that it happened on time, in time, and that how he metabolizes it, how he moves forward, is part of what raises him up into a giant light that he is evolving into. Like, that's what we get to choose. For everybody listening, that's what we get to choose. Yes. All the crappy things that come our way, we get to choose. This is a seed moment. And how will I grow it? How will I evolve it into a way that compels me to have to rise up into more of myself, so that I become this, like, eternal presence of goodness that like there's nothing to fight against, that I get so magnified and radiant that change happens. You know what I mean?
Yes. And this was such a perfect example of the technology of prayer as a means to lift ourselves above confusion. So you just demonstrated how we can paint that canvas with more colors and a bigger brush when we turn away from all of the incessant hamster wheel of thought and thinking about.
Right.
And just drop into some truth that something's being activated in this moment. So beautiful, Reverend Julie. Thank you.
My honor.
Okay. So everyone, I didn't have the book with me. I have it, but I didn't have it right here.
What?
There we go. Yes.
What? It just happened to be here.
Thank you. Please hold it up again. What's Your What is an amazing, amazing read with insight, as well as exercises to activate this deep knowing within you that Reverend Julie just articulated. And you can catch out her talk at her talk at Agape from 3 weeks ago, which was amazing.
AgapeLive.com.
And your TED Talk.
Yeah.
And we hope to have you back at Rhythmia very soon.
I'm looking forward to it. Absolutely.
Thank you.
I love you, John Jacob.
Thank you.
God bless you to everybody that joined us. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. God bless you all.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a beautiful day. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.